Bill Cosby. MASH. MASH deserves a very special note in television history. Um, First of all, a couple of trivia notes. The pilot was rushed into production. They had just finished shooting the movie. There was a little bit of buzz about it. And the feeling was we need to get this thing into production before we take the set down. While we have the crew in place, while we have the sets in place, let's just shoot a pilot and see what happens. It was not a project a lot of people were excited about because they were talking about shooting a war comedy about hospital blood, and it was being filmed during the Vietnam War. Um, it was a very questionable concept. You know, why would people want to tune in to watch war and be entertained by it? And the feeling was very mixed. Why are we doing this? This is silly. Originally, just some more trivia, originally, Wayne Rogers was cast as Hawkeye, and he turned it down. He said, this Hawkeye character is too hard for me to relate to. The sense was the Hawkeye character was very bipolar. And plus, the way they presented the show to Wayne Rogers was it was going to be a kind of a buddy thing where they both were supposed to get equal screen time. So Wayne Rogers said, I want to play Trapper John. I don't want to play the Hawkeye character. So the producers went out and looked for a new Hawkeye. And they had been told to check out Alan Alda. They said, this guy, Alan Alda. Alan Alda at the time was just a stage actor who had done a little bit of television work, not particularly famous. They went to him and said, do you want to play the lead in this television show? He said no. And then the pilot was coming closer to date, and they kept chopping around trying to find a Hawkeye. Couldn't find one. They called Alan Alda again and said, sure, you don't want to play this? And his opinion had changed. He didn't like the character. He thought the character was too hard to get his brain around. He couldn't relate, you know, why is something funny and something serious? And Alan Alda's sense was, this is a bad character to try and play. It's too difficult. He's too bipolar. But Alan Alda was a starving artist and starving actor, and they were offering to pay him a paycheck. So he thought, this pilot's never going to get picked up anyway. Why don't I just do it and cash the money? So he agreed. He agreed to do the pilot. He had no concept that it was going to be picked up. He was pretty sure it was just going to be, you know, a one-off and done. But it was a paycheck, and okay, I'll do it for the paycheck. More trivia. CBS insisted the show had to have a laugh track because they were trying to sell it as a comedy. And the producers agreed on the condition that they said they would never put a laugh track in an operating room scene. So anytime you watch a TV show MASH and they're in the OR, there is no laugh track. Go back and watch. There's never a laugh track in the operating room. The other thing was the CBS, again, treating this as a comedy, they said they didn't want to see any blood. And the producers agreed, we're not going to show any blood. However, by the third or fourth season, the producers said, this is not possible. We can't do this show without showing blood. They're surgeons, they're operating, you have to put blood in it. So CBS said, okay, we'll let you do some blood. And that show got pretty bloody for television in the 1970s. I mean, there's a lot of graphic blood in that show, considering where it was in television history. It's not a time that people were used to seeing blood on the screen. They put a lot in. But if you go back and rewatch MASH for the first 3 seasons, when they get to an operating room scene, they just have their hands down below the drapes and you never see any blood. About the 4th season, blood comes in and they get pretty graphic with it. And then my other little fun note there is that Gary Berghoff's hand. Gary Berghoff's left hand was deformed, and the producers didn't want to deal with this issue, so they always had him carry a bugle, carry a clipboard, have his hand in his pocket. They always found a way to cover his left hand. So something else to watch for when you watch MASH. See what they're doing with Gary Berghoff's left hand, with Radar's left hand. Now, dramedy. MASH had a problem right out of the gate. It didn't really know if it was trying to be a comedy or trying to be a drama. So eventually they coined the frame dramedy. But um, they originally tried to do it the way they had been doing television shows, where they had a story and they tried to just incorporate a little bit of comedy and a little bit of drama into it. And then about the second or third season, they stumbled on something. They figured out they had an ensemble cast and they were trying to do two different things. And what they started doing was they started writing two scripts. One story would be the comedy, one story would be the drama. And they would divide the cast in half. This week, this half's doing the comedy. This week, this half's doing the comedy. One half's doing the drama. And and then they would merge the two. And the genius of this that they just stumbled on was it gave them instant cutaways. So you're doing your comedy scene, you come to the end of the comedy, you cut to the drama scene, you play out that drama scene, you cut to the comedy, do the comedy scene, cut to the drama scene. They didn't have to bother with the transition part in between the two. They could just cut straight to it. Slam, we're in the new story. Once they figured this out, the formula was easy. And the thing about MASH is if you go back and watch television shows, virtually every show on television now keeps dual program line, dual storylines for this purpose, because they don't have to bother transitioning from one scene to the next. They can just slam the next storyline in until they're ready to pick up the other one again. That among of all the things MASH brought to television, that redefining storylines where they have multiple storylines cutting back and forth, that has left an indelible mark on the television landscape today. Like I say, virtually every television show today keeps multiple storylines just so they can cut back and forth. And it was MASH that pioneered it. You go to shows prior to MASH, they don't do that. MASH was the one that figured that out.